Recognizing that most recreational divers do not have dive computers, Subsurface Mobile offers a simple and feature-rich mechanism to log dives without any dive computer. Importantly, with Subsurface Mobile, archival and security of your dive information is an important focus through the Internet Cloud feature. This makes it unnecessary to keep a paper logbook. You can retrieve your dive log even if you lose your mobile phone or without mobile phone facilities in a foreign country. Check out our earlier tutorial about setting up the cloud connection of Subsurface Mobile. This tutorial demonstrates how to enter dive information for dives without a dive computer. Let's get started. The dive list is the starting point of most operations in Subsurface Mobile. When you create a new dive, remember two aspects of the topmost dive in the dive list: its date and the dive number. If the dive you wish to enter is more than 2 days after the topmost dive, a new trip will be created at the top of the dive list. If it is less than 2 days after the topmost dive, your new dive will be added to the topmost dive trip. In the dive list screen, tap the plus button at the bottom of the list. This brings up a panel for typing in the information you wish to save. Now, pay attention to the dive number. Normally this number is one more than the dive number of the topmost dive in the dive list, mentioned a minute ago. In this case, the number does not need any editing. Else edit the number to suit your purposes. The date and time is normally those that reflect when you opened this panel. You would probably like to edit this to reflect the date and time of your dive. As mentioned a minute ago, this date will determine whether your new dive will be within a new dive trip in the dive list or alternatively part of the topmost existing dive trip in your dive list. Now you need to specify the place where your new dive was performed. If you have already dived the site, then select it from the drop-down list. In this case, the geographical coordinates of the dive site are provided. If you have not dived the site before, you have to provide the dive site name and the coordinates for that site. The coordinates are not crucial, but they do allow plotting and viewing of the site on a world map. Coordinates can be provided as decimal degrees or as degrees, minutes and seconds, as in this example. The degree, minute and second symbols fortunately exist on the Android keyboard. Be careful to type the coordinates correctly, otherwise Subsurface Mobile cannot recognize the coordinates, or you will get incorrect coordinates if you dive the site again in future. If there is a problem, you can always correct the coordinates later by editing the dive. Now you need to provide the depth and the duration of the new dive. These two items are probably the most important of all the dive information you provide. If you know the air temperature or the water temperature during the dive, there is space to type these two values. In this case, we do not know what the temperatures were. Now you need to provide the type of wetsuit you used during the dive. If it has been used in previous dives, select it from the drop-down list, otherwise type it in. Subsurface Mobile remembers whatever you type so that in future you can select it from the drop-down list. The same principle exists for providing the name of your dive buddy and of the dive master of the dive. From a validation point of view, this information is important since this makes it possible, in principle at least, for any dive agency to validate your dives by contacting any of these two persons. If you have dived with this person before, select the name from the drop-down list. Else type the new name in the space provided. Subsurface Mobile stores these names for use in future dives. Then enter the weight you used during the dive. This is useful information that I frequently refer back to before a dive. Now you need to specify the cylinder type used. The drop-down list provides most cylinder types used. If it cannot be found, type it into the space provided. Below this is space to provide the type of gas used. In most cases, it is air. Now provide the start and end pressures of the air in your cylinder. This is useful information that allows Subsurface Mobile to compute your air consumption and which allows you to review your air use in planning future dives. Subsurface allows you to do 2 ratings for the dive on a scale of 0 to 5. Increase the rating by tapping the plus symbol, decrease it by tapping the minus symbol. The last item are additional dive notes where you can describe things encountered or experienced during the dive. We've now covered all the fields in the data entry sheet. Review the information you provided, paying special attention to the date, time, and dive site coordinates. If you are happy, then tap the blue button with a removable disk at the bottom of the screen. If you do not wish to save the information, tap the grey button to the right of the Save button. This returns you to the dive screen that shows all the information that you provided. Then tap the Android Back button to return to the dive list. One final thing that needs to be done is to provide a trip name in the trip header. Your trip header probably only contains a year and a month, April 2020 in our example. Long press on the trip title in order to open a context menu on the right of the screen. Select the option Edit Trip Details. This provides you with space to type an overall trip location for the whole dive trip. You can also provide some additional descriptive text about the trip in the space marked Trip Notes. Select the Save button to save this information. This returns you to the dive list where the correct trip name is now shown in the trip header. You have now completed data entry for this dive. At first glance, this is a long and tedious process. However, you will quickly get the hang of it, and then data entry will be quite fast. Also remember that almost all of the data fields in the data entry sheet are optional. Only provide the information that is meaningful to you. Skip information that does not fit with your system. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. We hope this has been useful to you.